All right, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Michael DeVella here with Kramer Electronics. I'm the Director of Product and Channel Marketing, and it is my privilege to have with you guys maybe about 30 minutes. I may actually go over on this one to about 35, but as long as nobody has a hard stop, I foresee that as not a problem. This will be a one-directional webinar. Any questions that you guys may have, I certainly encourage you guys to grab my phone number and or my email address, which is on the lower left-hand side of that slide there. Feel free to email me anything you need. Even if I can't get you an answer, I certainly know people who can. So with that said, let's jump right in. Let's have no agendas. Let's just go full bore right into this thing. And what we're going to be talking about is really what is classically called is the modern day classroom. So I think in order to really understand where we are, we have to kind of set the stage by looking at what are the biggest trends in the marketplace. You know, what are the biggest drivers that essentially will cover how wireless fits in. And for me, one of the biggest ones, obviously, is digital collaboration. And if you think about the ideal classroom setting, when it comes to collaboration, we really want students engaged in a very high-level task, discussing, possibly even debating an issue, making shared decisions, and really kind of designing an end result that demonstrates that all of this is part of a deeper learning. But the million-dollar question, of course, is how, especially with so many products claiming to have collaboration, but really only a few of them do, and mostly only offer presentation-level capabilities. It's really what comes down to the difference between presenting and collaboration, and I'll certainly cover that. The least sexy piece, and arguably the most important, is data security, which, you know, there's often this perception that education is not a high enough value target when it comes to cyber attacks and security threats, really in any form, yet the same vulnerabilities that have often plagued retailers like Target and Sony and so many other companies, really have also impacted higher education institutions. When you look at even like the universities of Maryland, North Carolina, they've all been attacked very recently, and those vulnerabilities are not, simply from external hackers, but also from people, who are coming from the inside. So the challenge is, how do we provide an adequate data security while still enabling really a high level of service, in my opinion anyway? This becomes really the most important aspect that schools need to expand upon, really for the revenue models that include online selling curriculums and MOOC learning, which I'll talk about. Of course, video is a huge driver in today's educational settings, with teachers, of course, integrating instructional videos and YouTube into their lesson plans more and more. Really what the result is we're seeing students retaining more information, they're understanding concepts, and, more rapidly engaging more enthusiastically about what they're learning. And, of course, that's the purpose of the educational setting and really what video brings to the table. Of course, MOOCs, or for maybe some integrators who might not be familiar with this concept, massively open online courses, they've exploded in popularity over the last few years, and of course will continue to grow over the next several. Although many of them, they have their challenges, mainly in the area of assessment, these online courses have demonstrated significant value to millions of students who never would have had the opportunity for such an educational experience. And again, wireless touches this aspect. Of course, it goes without saying BYOD. You don't have wireless without BYOD, and you don't have BYOD without wireless. And with the proliferation of tablets, smartphones, and of course other devices, educators have increasingly embraced this new BYOD culture. And, when you're using communication apps such as Twitter in the classroom, productivity tools such as Evernote, Dropbox, Google Docs, digital textbook apps such as iBook or Author, video apps such as iTunes, as well as all these other different applications specifically geared towards certain subject areas, you need to be able to integrate BYOD, and of course that begs the question of how, why, and of course why you guys are here. We also have blended learning, which is easily one of the most popular aspects, and that's, really, recognizing that teachers are tasked with implementing it, often and and oftentimes really identifying the best mix of digital learning tools for each student. The digital approaches to learning, such as project-based learning, maker education, game-based learning, and so much more, will continue to be explored as part of the personalized blended learning tools. And of course, VIA fits directly into those models and supports those models. And then finally, what we'll talk about is simplicity. At the end of the day, we like to beat our chest and talk about how cool and robust things are, but at the end of the day, technology needs to be easy to use. Professors are many things, but technically savvy is often not a trait most associated with them. And it's imperative that these professors and students alike are engaged with technology that requires little training and is incredibly simple to use. So that, of course, brings us into our students. And in just a couple of years, it'll be 2019, believe it or not. And I think that what we really need to do is, we have to take a look at who our student base is. And I think that quite often within our industry, Pro AV, this aspect gets lost. And if you look at the profile of the students, you could see how it's changed. And I certainly don't know how old the average blended age is on this call. What I can tell you is I'm 44, and I'd like to think that I'm not too old of a man. But with that said, if you look at, today's students, they carry with them more advanced technology in their pocket than some corporate boardrooms have. Their phones and tablets enable video conferencing. They're accustomed to HD content, HD video content on demand. They're utilizing chat and messaging as a primary use of communication. They've allowed the social media culture to influence how they interact. They can access any piece of content they want within seconds. So if your classroom that you're designing is not addressing this 18 to 22-year-old, they're going to find another school to fit in. And if you think about some of the things that I have up here, just in terms of personality, it's the fact that, I grew up in an age where a TV was in every bedroom. TVs are being installed in virtually no bedrooms now because you have a tablet. Traditional radio is barely existing, because of obviously internet radio, Sirius XM, things like that. How we receive content has dramatically changed, and of course that needs to be a spillover into our classroom. We're certainly seeing it within corporate America. That of course brings us into VIA, what I would like to think is the reason why you guys are all here. And VIA is really a complete platform, as this image shows. It addresses both connectivity, collaboration, which of course are the things that touch the students and teachers, and then for those back-end administrators or IT managers, of course, we have systems management, and all of these things I'll address. For those of you not aware of what VIA is, and you maybe just saw some email, talking about wireless connectivity, really what VIA is, it's a complete suite of connectivity and collaboration solutions whereby we merge bleeding-edge technology with a very simplified user experience that really gives an enhanced productivity out of the meeting spaces. And of course, Forbes, you could see, named as one of the top technologies that people really should be integrating into their businesses. And whether we like it or not, I know colleges don't like to consider themselves businesses, but they very, very much are. And the key to VIA, despite all the collaboration that we often talk about, it's connectivity. It's our ability to connect devices and people with technology, so that aspect can't be overlooked. Now, one of the things that I've already kind of very quickly addressed, but this is certainly a different way of outlining it, is the fact that VIA is a complete platform, meaning it has different options for different functionality that you need. And at its heart, everything that VIA does is connectivity. No matter what you buy, VIA will allow you to wirelessly connect. So VIA also has a couple of different products that enable very advanced collaboration. And depending on how many collaborative features you need, VIA has options. Really what the benefit of that is that now you can begin to kind of design to scale, meaning you could have certain products in certain rooms and more advanced products in other rooms, but the interface, the app that enables you usage for that remains the same. So again, that user experience becomes very forefront in that you don't have to redeploy or retrain different people for these different devices, and they become really one large integrated platform. Now, one of the things I think it's always very important, especially when I'm talking to higher education people, is, you know, when you look at this technology, it might be new to you, but it's important to have an understanding that it's not new to the marketplace. And when you look at the history of VIA, to me, it's a very powerful one, excuse me, in that, you know, 10 years ago, we found our way into the first higher education setting. Of course, 7 years ago, we began winning our first awards for wireless connectivity and technology. And of course, as many of you guys may know, the VIA technology was actually brought to us through acquisition, and that came to us in 2014. So although it might be still relatively new to even Kramer, the marketplace has been using VIA's technology for, like I said, you know, it's been in the marketplace for over 10 years, and, you know, our first patent, you know, dates back almost 15 years ago. So let's move on. In order to select the right platform, we need to obviously have an understanding of what exactly are we looking for here, right? So the marketplace certainly has a lot of presentation solutions, but collaboration solutions, you know, there's certainly a lot less of them. So it becomes very confusing to say, okay, what do I need and what is the difference between the two? So I think it's an important step to kind of outline what is the difference between the presentation and the collaboration. And although this may seem very simple, I think that the marketplace often clouds things up, right? So look at the classroom setting. You know, what I'm showing here very much is how I went to school, right? It's a professor plugging in a laptop, I sit there, I listen, they go through some level of a lesson plan, and it's really my ability to digest the information that's being presented to me. It's very one-directional. And if you look at Webster, if you don't believe me, right, present is defined as the ability to show or to manifest. You know, by way of comparison, if you think about collaboration, it's interactive. It's part of what these school systems and in higher universities are selling, right? It's the contributions of everybody in that space to create a better outcome. And again, look at Webster, right? Collaboration is defined as work to do something or to achieve something. And I think that I'd ask yourself, and not only ask yourself, but ask the parents of the students who sit in the classroom, do you want your child to be presented at or collaborate? Do you want your child to have something or to do or achieve something? I think that that becomes really one of the key differences between a VIA solution and anybody else. So then once you dive into collaboration, I think we really have to have a deeper understanding of, okay, what is the output of what this collaborative process, this collaborative curriculum really should have? And for me, it's this very developmental environment where you could have open-minded ideas being exchanged from student to student, from professor to student. You could go back and forth on various documents. The ability to have really interactive workflows so that I could send documentation around the room into open source media sites. Obviously, cooperative features such as whiteboarding, annotation, video editing, all of these, and recording, all of these different things that, of course, result in, you know, a much faster, better, not only lesson plan or a class exercise, but you're getting more out of it. You have more engaged students, you know, for the ability to do these kinds of things. Then, of course, as you look at, so that's the front end, right? That's the front end functionality of what a system can do. Then on the back end, for all the IT professionals on the call here today, you know, you have to address data security. And now I talked about this on setting the stage. And not only data security, but you have to address device security. VIA is the only product within its category that actually addresses these. I just want to stop for a second and repeat that. VIA is the only one that's able to address both content and device security at any professional level. Now, how that's done is no matter what VIA you use, all of the content is fully encrypted at 1024-bit encryption. So that's on top of whatever encryption levels your network is doing. Then the device itself is also then OWASP certified. That stands for the Open Web Application Security Project. They are a third-party organization that has tested our products that say that the device itself is implementing the highest standards to help prevent against any kind of breach. Now, anyone who certainly understands data breaches, you know that if you could hack a device, you could then hack anything connected to it. So again, VIA is the only one that has this certification. That becomes a very, very important aspect to anything that you're looking to put within your network. And then again, by way of comparison, my competitors, they at best deal with very, very low levels of data encryption. And then on the higher levels, they have absolutely no OAuth certification. So again, I think you really need to think about your reputation, because if you're going to recommend something that doesn't have this level of security and something happens, knowing that you had a product like VIA certainly, could create an issue. So as we talk about the different drivers, we've obviously already addressed the security, collaboration. The other aspect that we need to think about is video. And, just to kind of look back and again to date ourselves, Skype was released in 2003. YouTube followed 2005. The iPad was unveiled in 2010. Right, so the internet usage has increased from 16% of the world's population in 2005 to over 95% today in developed countries. For Generation V, and I made that up, I'm going to call it V for virtual, video isn't just some passive form of entertainment. It's also a mode of delivery for interactive communication and for information being accessed on a daily basis. Today's students are accustomed to using video, and teachers are really kind of accustomed to having that as their advantage, right? So now that we have more access to video, newscasts, advertisements, comedy routines, documentaries, dramas, even academic lectures are on DVD. But now through the internet, students can now, access this. So how do we integrate that, right? So, most of what's out there was originally produced as, these teaching materials, which means that it serves, as an authentic, real-world communicative purpose. Some of these materials, for example, Discovery Channel documentary videos that accompany, the Cambridge University Press's new Unlock series, I don't know if you guys saw that, are authentic materials adapted for the language of teaching, all of which need to be integrated into lesson plans in the classroom. And I stress the word need, and here's the reason why. So one of the most comprehensive surveys to date on the state of video in education was recently conducted by Kaltura. Kaltura is a leading open source media firm. The survey went to 550 respondents representing over 300 institutions in roles such as the IT team, the media team, the instructional design, faculty members, institutional management. Stated differently, everybody on this phone here today. And just take a look at the results yourself. You can see how important video is, not from me, but for you. And with almost 80% confirming that students are selecting their schools partially based on video access, it becomes a factor to the bottom line of the institution. That's the number that jumps out. And why do I say all of this? Because if we agree that video is this important, then we have to have a video player that works at that same very high level. And that's where VIA comes in. VIA has the most advanced video playback presentation technology in the marketplace. It begins with, of course, our mirroring technology that utilizes our H.264 and not screen capture. We're able to play native video at a full 60 frame per second video playback. You could also use the Campus or the Collage for a native video playback directly from the internet itself because it's a Windows-based machine. What you could also do is utilize, and what this means for you guys, is you could use these video services and have a full-frame video playback. Stated differently, if you don't have a nice complete stream of video, by definition, you're losing your curriculum. So if you're willing to say that video integration is imperative to the learning process, by that definition, you need something that's going to have the highest level of video integrity. That's where VIA comes in. So now let's talk about MOOCs, right? Online education seems to be very high-tech, but the concept of distance learning is really nothing new, as it's been there, ironically, since the 18th century. The world's first distance learning course was established, I believe, up in Boston, where their lessons were sent by mail, if you could believe it or not. You know, professors from many universities are dedicated to sharing their knowledge in order to help students globally. MOOCs certainly have had the ability to turn them into rock star teachers and, of course, draw attention to the universities that they're serving. You know, big-name schools, including Harvard, Stanford, and MIT, are investing millions of dollars in this MOOC development. So how does it relate to wireless? You know, that's a good question, Isabella. Let's go find out, right? So, you know, MOOCs represent a new and innovative way to deliver content. As we spoke about, it all begins with collaboration. Students have access to millions of videos and curriculums that need to collaborate on that source content in order to be able to discuss. I'm naturally speaking, you know, of course, to universities who charge for their content as part of it. You know, their ability to offer a flipped classroom and engage in these lesson plans become crucial. With VIA, you could access all of this outside content. You could bring it into the classroom with you. You could also, you know, by virtue of doing this, you could collaborate at a very high level utilizing our annotation, our whiteboarding, some of those different features. So our ability to integrate with all of this separate content enables this level of functionality, not only for the classroom, but it also becomes a huge revenue stream for the institution itself. And one of the other, you know, really collaborative services that goes along with this is with the VIA Campus and the Collage, because they're running a Windows-based operating system. That platform enables us to support third-party applications. So based on these third-party applications, you can now install things like video conferencing. You could install Microsoft Office. Any of these different elements could be installed directly into the VIA product itself for the classroom. So now students can come in. You could web conference another teacher, a guest speaker, or whatever. You can now have these students pull up an Excel PowerPoint or whatever, you know, a suite of you know, Office softwares that they may be using, collaborate on that single piece, and then push it back to a cloud-based repository. This becomes a very powerful way into how teachers can educate. So because we're talking about BYOD, the next question is, all right, Isabella, what can you connect? You know, I know there's all the, you know, there's Android, there's PC, there's all these different things. The beauty of VIA is that we can connect virtually anything, from an Apple to a PC to even Chromebook. And for maybe some of those higher education folk who might be on here going, all right, you know, we don't see any Chromebooks, everyone on this call that it represents K through 12 is going to laugh at you and say, hey man, it's coming. We're actually starting to see it now in corporate America. So think about that usage. Knowing that you could take any platform and be able to connect it utilizing the same application and be able to interact on content. That becomes a very huge thing. So as we talk about this aspect, right, we talk about these collaborative features, I think that, you know, we have to begin by saying that mobile learning in the U.S. and specifically higher education is skyrocketing. From surveys like the Horizon report, you know, they've indicated that close to 90% of all students are using mobile devices in the classroom. This means that it's imperative to integrate these mobile technologies into that curriculum in the classroom. In the survey that I'm showing you, students reported that the academic apps they used the most, right, were for information, such as Google, reference apps, such as Dictionary, school apps, such as Mobile Learn, and even resource management applications, such as, you know, word processing and Evernote. Now, you know, learning environments have evolved to embrace these digital breakout areas for collaboration. And VIA certainly stands alone in our evolution to be able to bridge the gap, allowing those true collaboration capabilities in the classroom with our robust yet very scalable application. And I'm going to talk about some of that scalability coming up in just a couple of minutes. So let's talk about blended learning, right? It's our ability to, you know, really be able to, you know, integrate flexibility and scalability into a lesson plan. Because if you think about it, just as all companies are not created the same, either are all classrooms, right? And either are all teachers. So I think that we really have to kind of look at ourselves and say, okay, how do we integrate not only book learning, but video learning and game learning? How do we put all of these onto the same system and allow for a unified education process? And really, that's where the personalized blended learning functionality of VIA steps. You know, we have a multitude of different features across the platform, and here you can see I'm just showing you a handful of them. The reason why I'm showing you these is not just to be able to say that we can do them, but it's also to say, hey, they're here, but you may not even need them for all spaces, or you may only need some of these for a small piece of the, for a small percentage of the spaces. The idea that you could take these different features and cut and paste, turn them on, or I'm sorry, enable or disable them as needed, really becomes a very powerful feature for the room, knowing that you can have what you want and not use what you don't want. So you really get to customize the features that based on your students, based on their ages, based on your professors, and all of that stuff. So let's talk about ease of use. One of the things that I certainly addressed earlier was, you know, when it comes to deployment, you know, really what you need to do is deploy a new platform, turn it on within a limited set of features to acclimate yourself, right? And that's certainly one of the things that we're seeing with students is that, yeah, VIA does all these things, but let me limit the functionality kind of generation one, get people used to it, and then engage and turn them on. From that point, you know, you really have to kind of look at yourself and say, okay, we know that it does all of these things, but what do people really need? You know, we've talked about all these features that can be turned on, turned off, do all these things. Well, a survey actually went out through Infocom, and they asked users, what are the most important things that you factor in when adopting new technology? The amazing part to me, which you can see here is highlighted by red, is that 6 of the 10 things were directly related to user experience. Now, I know it sounds like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but, you know, on the one hand, yeah, of course you need powerful technology, and everybody on this phone, we certainly, you know, embrace that and run towards that. At the end of the day, the daily users, that 20-year-old kid, that anywhere between 30 and 55-year-old teacher, they need it to be easy to use. So I think that that becomes an important element, which certainly VIA addresses. So, you know, as far as the VIA interface, you know, I talked about how our features can easily be turned on and off. What's very interesting about the history of VIA is it was actually designed by a college professor. Part of his motivation in developing the interface was to address the needs of a professor. And really what stands out is, you know, we use very simplified icons. We use very simplified words to be able to teach people exactly what it is that they're looking for. So although it was developed by software engineers, it was very much designed, you know, for that end user in mind to be able to use in a very simplified way. So as I begin to round things out here on, you know, kind of the driver aspect of it, one of the things I'd like to kind of have you guys keep in mind here, one of the growing trends certainly here within our educational settings is really to think about huddle spaces. And I know that huddle spaces have traditionally been thought of as a corporate America aspect of it, but, you know, it's certainly, you know, touching, you know, the classroom environments as well, or a higher education setting. And if you think about the classroom where a student might spend anywhere between 12 and 18 hours a week, depending on their ambition, but what about the other 150, 156 hours in that week? You know, look at your environments holistically. You have student centers, libraries, hallways, cafeterias, dorms. All of these areas could be equipped for students to have the ability to wirelessly congregate and communicate within a digital integrated environment. In many cases, you already have. You know, just as one student will choose one school over another based on classroom technology, the same decision-making process will happen for all other aspects of the college experience. Schools have already invested millions and millions of dollars in dorms, libraries, student centers, all of that to attract students. Well, with the power of VIA, you could track even more of them for under $1,000 MSRP. And what better way to improve your campus than to really fuel that student interaction and also create that college and university environment that drives students all the way down to the registrar's office when it comes time for giving a donation. So, if you think about any place where you put a display, you can very easily have wireless technology. So, just as we come to an end, I just want to have a very quick review because I know that I'm hitting my time mark. So we end where we began. Here are all of the features that I began, or the drivers that I talked about. And here's exactly how VIA is demonstrating, the value for each one of those. Of course, I've talked about the collaborative capabilities, the security, our ability to take all of these different features and create these blended learning environments. And of course, I'm breezing very, very quickly through this. But when we talked about the the drivers within education and how they fit to the VIA, you might be asking yourself, okay, beyond that one, so again, when you ask that question, it comes down to a couple of things. Of course, it's secure, easy interface, your ability to connect virtually any type of BYOD. Some of our key features is, of course, our H.264 streaming for streaming mirroring capabilities, our 60 frames per second video playback. We have Do Not Disturb, which is a key feature within that front-facing interface for all of our teachers. And, of course, our content in beta security. Holistically, and the final thing I'll leave you guys with is when you look at the overall product mix, here you'll see the 4 different products that we have. You'll see that obviously the Collage and the Campus are 2 of our more powerful. Our Connect Pro and then our Go are for more basic level functionality. But depending on what you need to get out of that classroom, that feature set, and this is just a handful of them on the left-hand side, allows you to choose, okay, what space is for me? We see the VIA Go in a lot of K through 12 because obviously you're dealing with younger students for the most part, who don't need a whole lot of bells and whistles. Within college campuses, really, as no surprise, there's a reason why we call the product the Campus, is because that really is one of the best-selling products that we have within those higher education environments. So before my voice gives out, the final thing I just want to leave you guys with is, one of the things that certainly happens, because we have a lot of people representing schools on this call here, is, when you think about the Kramer difference, a lot of it has to do with our pre- and post-sales support. And it's one of those things I certainly would invite you guys to take advantage of us on, not only in terms of the obvious things, such as, any kind of, questions you may have regarding the actual unit, but we also have the ability to help you design systems, help with installation, help with some of these latest technologies and how they integrate with one another. We have a multi-tiered support level that handles everything from data networking to traditional AV. So, we certainly have a lot that you guys could lean on to help your process go quicker. So as I promised, I went exactly 3 minutes over. I tried to talk pretty quickly so that I didn't chew up too much of your time. It looks like I didn't lose too many people. So, I hope that this was a powerful 30 minutes for you guys. I certainly could talk about each one of these subjects ad nauseum. Some of my colleagues would kind of jokingly say, or not so jokingly say, but I'm always available to talk in much more depth about any of this stuff. So please feel free to reach out to me. You can see that my contact information is there. Otherwise, like I said, I have recorded this. You guys, I'm sure, will be getting an email with a link so that you guys could go back and give yourself a refreshing course. So more importantly, before I hit that 35-minute mark, I want to thank you all very much. I know how valuable your time is, and certainly look forward to seeing you guys on the next Kramer webinar. So enjoy your week, enjoy your fall, and have a great day. Thank you very much, everybody.